I call it the compliment test. So I'll wear something for like literally 60 days before I bring it out. And I take walks around neighborhoods. And if I get a lot of compliments, I'm like, okay, this is something I want to bring out. And if I don't, then I'm like, maybe not. And it's the weirdest thing, even though it's like such an informal way of doing it. The ones that get the most compliments just on these walks are the things that sell out the fastest or are our top selling items.
That's just not shocking.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Eat the Damn Cake. I am Maddie.
And I am Carly, and we are so excited to have you back this week. We have a very, very special guest on this week. You may have heard of her.
Maybe once or twice. Couple times.
Or heard of her activewear line that is the hottest thing in Boston right now. If you haven't heard of it, 1987 Active, look it up. And we have Jen Deangelis here joining us. We are so excited. Welcome to Eat the Damn Cake.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Did I pronounce your last name right?
You did it beautifully.
Yeah,
it's like Los Angeles, but it means of the angels, so that's pretty cool.
Oh my God.
If I do say so myself.
Wow. That should be part of like your next launch
an
of
angel
the angels.
collection.
Oh my
Yes.
God. That would be
gosh.
Sarah, write that down.
I know. Good call. Yeah. That's a very good call. Well, welcome to our podcast. We're so excited to have you. She is not new to the Big Night fam. She has come on to Those Girls You Know, even co-hosted Those Girls You Know. So if you haven't checked out their podcast yet, definitely go listen to her again if you just love listening to her talk about her amazing brand and life and everything that has kind of brought her to this position. Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy.
No, this is going to be be such a fun podcast. I already know it.
I can already feel it in my bones.
I can feel it in my freaking bones. Yeah. And the fact, wait, what number is this? 35.
Ooh, that's a good number. I feel
yeah, this is a very good number.
I lived on the 35th floor in San Francisco.
Oh my God.
I feel like that's a good omen or
Wait,
something.
this is like very meant to be.
Yeah, it really truly is. Let's dive right into it. Yeah. Let's start. Where are you from? Your background, where you went to college, and how you ended up in Boston.
And then what's your favorite color? Ice cream.
And zodiac sign.
Yes.
Okay. Let's do those first before I forget. Favorite color is black. I know it's not actually a color, but we do a lot of black and white over at 1987.
Love it.
I'm a Virgo, but I have Aries in my chart. So I'm definitely like very type A, but I also, Aries are very driven. So I feel like I align with that.
Yes.
But I'm also like a homebody. So very much Virgo.
Feel that.
Love that.
And then ice cream. I would say we can't go wrong with cookie dough or mint chocolate chip.
Of course not.
So it just depends.
My boyfriend will have a word with you about the mint chocolate chip.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's not like the fake green one.
Right.
It's like the white.
The normal
with like
one.
Actual mint in it and like the chunky like dark chocolate.
Okay.
Like, that's a good vibe.
See, I have no problem with it. Like, I feel like it tastes good. He's like, it's like you're chewing on toothpaste. Like, you know how there's people that are
so
like,
dramatic.
But like
He also eats Kit Kats with biting into it whole, like not breaking it off.
What a serial killer.
So he can't say anything.
It is.
He can't say anything about mint chocolate.
It's quite painful.
That's like the worst thing.
I know.
Have you tried to break him of that? Like literally break?
Yes. No. And it's I think now he just does it because it causes a rise out of everyone. He like every time he does it, he like posts it on social media. He's like, just took another. I'm like, stop. Like, you're just trying to get a rise. And then he puts like silly posts. Like, he's not an Instagram person.
Okay.
Like his Instagram got hacked during the quarantine. And instead of like contacting Instagram and being like, hey, I got hacked, he just deleted it altogether.
He's like, screw this.
He's like, I didn't want it anyway.
Now he's like 100 followers. I'm like, there's no point. You're posting for you at this point.
He is.
Well, okay. So now that we know the very important things about you.
The most top billing.
Yes. Now, just tell us, where everything kind of started for you.
So I grew up in Boulder, Colorado. So if you don't know.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I listened to all your podcasts with Those Girls You Know.
So I think like people get confused, like why Boston? So I'll address that really quickly. My great-grandparents immigrated from Italy to just outside Boston to Natick. And so we have a huge Italian family. And so I grew up, like Boston is very much a second home. Like my grandparents had a house on the Cape. We would always spend summers here. So
amazing.
I have like 10 cousins that actively live in Boston and like so many aunts and uncles. But
that is awesome.
When I thought about like where do you want to do the American dream, Boston made a lot of sense.
Totally.
And I actually spent quarantine here, and so I was like, it's really nice to be around family, especially with everything that was going on with the world. And I was like, I don't really know why I'm like soloing this whole situation. Like you have a lot of like people that want to help you and care about you. So it just made sense to come back.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. So
This all
now
makes
that
sense
makes sense.
now.
I was wondering why Natick was originally in your family, I guess.
Yeah.
And I thought you grew up in Natick. So, but we're from Framingham, right
Yeah,
next
it's
door.
We're
cool.
basically a
Yeah.
neighboring town, but yeah.
My family's obsessed with a Framingham pizza, you
Bakery?
know, it's like the on the focaccia-ish type
Our
bread.
gym is right next to
It
it.
is
Oh my
so
God.
dangerous. It's like 2 feet from
I
it.
would gain 10 pounds if I were you guys. I would get it every single day.
It's so good.
You just
It-
walk over, get a
the-
sheet
you know the
pan of
secret-
pizza.
So good.
The
It's at
secret
every
is American cheese.
That's what they
make
put on it.
Wow.
And I could eat
So Carly's like
American
a dog
cheese.
in the sense that like, so it's like, do you want a little piece of
Yeah,
cheese?
yeah,
I was like,
yes,
yes.
No,
Me and my dog can crush a pound of cheese in a week. So
So that's
Yeah,
that
so
is
good.
the
Back to
secret.
Boulder.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, we're all over the place.
Pizza.
Yeah, okay. So grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and it's a very like active place. It was like the fittest town in the nation for a really long time. So I grew up like skiing and hiking and running, and I was a competitive dancer my whole life growing up.
so cool. What was your favorite type of dance?
Yeah, so I trained and competed in ballet, tap, hip hop, modern, jazz. And I went to a performing arts camp out here, Belvoir Terrace, which is in Massachusetts. So I was like my whole life, I was like a total competition kid. Like I thought I was going to be a pro dancer. That's
So you
what
think
I
you can
wanted.
dance?
Yeah.
I love
thought
I love
did.
that show.
And you know, our studio is really good at hip hop. And so we won I think I won my first nationals at like 13 and we got
my
some
God.
scholarships and all this stuff. And a lot of my friends ended up being like backup dancers for like Michael Jackson, Madonna,
my gosh.
everyone, Usher. So yeah,
Casual.
For sure.
super casual. But actually, I remember like one of my first auditions. It was like a pro audition, and the feedback was, you would have gotten it if you were a little bit leaner. And I had this like trigger moment where I was like, I don't want my career to be like driven on how I look, which is kind of funny because now I'm on like TikTok and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, you know, I don't think this is going to be for me, but it's something that I really loved so much growing up, and I'm really grateful for it. I think like a lot of people who do sports as you grow up, it's like you learn a lot of things like commitment and teamwork, and so
100%.
Discipline.
I just can't believe they tried to make. I mean, I can believe it because
That's like the dance.
That's like
community.
dance community and culture. So is same with acting culture, like performing arts, like in general. I've heard so many horror stories about calls. People are like, if you could lose like 10 pounds and the person already weighs like 120, you're like, okay, so
You're like, no, could you?
you want actual just my bones. You want me to strip off everything else, just like I will be nothing on this stage. But
We did hear a lot of that because my mom went to Boston Conservatory for musical theater. So she is in the dancing alley with you too. And she said that she was pretty much one of the only dancers there who didn't smoke cigarettes to stay skinny. And I was like, oh,
because cigarettes like curb your appetite.
yeah, they curb your appetite, not
So-
to stay skinny, but like
Yeah, but,
because
like,
they don't make you
people-
hungry.
Yeah.
But that's like the culture, though. People always wanted everyone to be a certain size, especially I feel like in ballet. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so many documentaries I feel like about the toxicity in a lot of like dance culture that you're supposed to look a certain way, eat a certain way. Just it's scary.
So did that alter your mindset at all, or did that make you like be like, no, I'm all set with the sport?
I mean, I think when someone says something like that to you, it's pretty impactful.
Oh,
yeah.
It doesn't really matter like how strong of a person you are. I think that was like pretty brutal to hear, to be honest.
100%.
Well, it's like you have the talent.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, so there's like one thing. And, you know, I think there was also like, it was kind of heartbreaking. It was like, I decided I'm going to go to college, and I was watching all my contemporaries go off and like live the dream that I had had for so long. But looking back on it today, I'm so grateful. I think education is probably the best thing, especially as women, that we can do to move ourselves forward.
Absolutely.
And I think that the education I received from UCLA and also Berkeley is just unparalleled. And I'm such a more developed person. I think at that point in my life, I was like, I'm Jen the dancer. And I genuinely didn't know who I was outside of that. I was like, that was my personality trait. That's what everyone knew about me.
Like your fun fact. You're like, I'm a dancer.
Totally. And I didn't really like develop this whole other side because I was so driven on, you know, trying to accomplish, you know, professional dancing.
That is so funny that you say that, because when I was college swimming and got injured, I had to like go to therapy during this, like going through this injury, because I was medically ineligible to keep swimming. And so they were like, who are you besides Carly the swimmer? Like what's beyond Carly the swimmer? Because that's the only way I identified myself. My whole life I'd worked towards like being this phenomenal swimmer, and now I'm like, it's all gone. So I thought my life was over. And it's so funny because now I feel like I have a million activities and I'm like, Carly the
like crushing it.
Carly the
So many different things.
Yeah, so it's so funny to like hear that from someone else, like to pull away from that one single identity that you thought you had.
I think it's important for a lot of our listeners to hear that too, because I feel like a lot of people are in that, either in that transition of graduating college and trying to figure out like, what do I want to do with my life, or even graduating high school, entering college, or entering a like, I don't know, a trade, and trying to be like, okay, I don't actually know who I am, what I want to do. Like the fact that at 18 you have to walk in somewhere and be like, hi, yes, I actually want to do this for the rest of my life. Like,
I don't know who I am or what I want to do, but I have to say that.
I just got my license 2 years ago, but here I go.
I can't even drink legally. I don't know what's going on.
Still don't know how to order an alcoholic beverage, but I'm going to be a doctor. Like, I just know it. I'm going to do surgery.
Honestly, I still do that. I'll like look at the menu and I'll see like a wine I can't pronounce. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get that one.
You like grab the menu and be like, this one. I would like this one. And even the servers though are like, I feel
with
you. Like I
When
get
I
it.
was a server, I like was like, I remember a rosé at Legal specifically. It was like called Chocolate or something, but it was spelled like XCQ. And I was like, and I asked every time. After 5 years, I finally got it. I was like, oh, the chocolate.
I would just be like, do you want the rosé, the expensive one or the cheap one?
Yeah.
Or like I'll just like mumble through like the chocolate.
Yeah,
You know? I'm like,
exactly.
maybe I got some of that. And they're like, sorry, which one? I'm like, this one.
Yeah.
So adulting is really freaking hard.
Yeah, it's probably the hardest.
Ordering rosé is really hard, everybody. But at the grand scheme of things, it's true though. Like re-identifying yourself after something that you identified yourself with for so long is hard, and it's almost like a rebrand for yourself.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's intimidating.
I think the other thing was, I've talked about this on my personal channels, but not so much on the podcasting networks. But I have really bad anxiety, but I grew up being really active. And for me, being active equates to like really quelling my anxiety. So it's the one way I can manage it. And since I was always working out, like we would train, 7 days a week for multiple hours every day and after school, and, we'd cross train and things like that. And so working out was built into who I was and what I was doing. And I remember right after I decided, okay, I'm just not going to do dance full on, I put on a lot of weight, and I also was so anxious. And I didn't know, I think at this moment in time, people talk about anxiety a lot more, but at that time I literally didn't know what was going on. I remember talking to my friends and being like, I just feel like it doesn't matter like how much I sip in air, I feel anxious still.
Like that tightness in your chest.
Like somebody's sitting on my chest.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, do I talk about anxiety on here all the time? But true, fitness helps a lot.
Yeah. And so I hadn't made that like connection. And so when I started working out again, I started feeling better again. And but I think that like that comment sort of like ignited what in my 20s I would just say was like a lot of dieting and a lot of just like trying, lots of working out, not because it felt good or because like I ran a marathon, and I'm pretty sure like the main motivation was just like, I don't know, maybe this will help me lose weight. Like spoiler alert, do not train for a marathon if you want to lose weight. You're gonna eat way more than you ever have.
It's so true.
I know.
Yeah.
The fueling that you need to do for running a lot, I just can't do it.
What marathon did you run?
I ran the LA marathon, which is like a really cool, I'm so glad that I did it, because it was like, LA is so expansive and so rarely do you see like the community come together.
Yeah.
And it was like everyone's on the side of the streets, like handing out oranges and water and like had cool like apocalyptic signs, like run like there's a zombie behind you.
Oh my gosh,
so
I love
It was
it.
really cute. So I think it was also like this moment that I've never been a runner. I'm not a good runner. And so I was like, I thought it would be impossible for me to finish a marathon.
But you did it.
So when I did it, I was like, all right, like
That
I
is
did
awesome.
that. Now what type
That's
of thing?
so
What can
badass.
you do next? I think that's the best thing about goal setting.
I literally want to run a marathon.
You should. Have you thought about doing Boston?
I have multiple
Carly-
times.
okay, whoa.
And I also do want to do a triathlon in my
She's
life.
just a psycho. in the sense of like,
I wouldn't train.
she goes, hey,
And I feel like you run a better time than I did.
It's so annoying. I've talked about this on the podcast before, and the amount of DMs I got being like, oh my God, my sister does this too. Like during the quarantine, I was trying to run a little bit more to do like cross training, but I hate it. Like I have this horrible hate for running, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just awful. And Kylie be like, well, just go for like a super quick, like 2 miles. It'll be fine. Little do I know she's going to run like a 7-minute pace. No, actually faster, like a 6:20 pace. And then for 6 miles.
6:20?
No, that I'm not
kidding.
7:30, Maddie.
No, you have ran faster than 7 minutes on a couple of your miles. And I'd be like trailing behind, like, okay,
You're like,
bye.
don't wait for me.
And then
You're
like,
doing great, sweetie.
literally, one time we were in this middle of a run, and I was like, I'm friggin' turning
turned
around. I'm turning around.
She literally turned around and
I
ran back
turned
home.
around and ran back home, and she still beat me home. She ran 6 miles and I ran 3, and she still beat me home.
You're like, oh, you couldn't have slowed it down just a little
I
bit,
was
just,
like-
just for me.
So but that's like her. So she's like, I really want to run a marathon, as if it's like this crazy thing for her to actually do.
You're like, no, you could do that tomorrow.
She
Just go
could do
it.
that. She cold turkey 6 at a time. She's like, I haven't ran in like 6 years, but I think I'll just go for a quick 6 miler.
That's like a genetic thing.
It's
That's just, I don't know.
So obnoxious being related to that thing, because it's not fair. Because I'll be like,
my God.
I haven't ran a mile in like 3 weeks. Go out, run a 12-minute mile. I'm like, oh God, that felt
you've been like painstaking
horrible.
doing every single day. You're like, I hate this.
I think I made it to 3 miles over quarantine. Then I was
did.
like, I'm good.
No,
I'm
you
all
did.
set.
You're like, now I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And then I stopped forever.
Yeah.
I haven't ran since quarantine.
I don't think it's good for your back, so I don't think running is for you. It's too impactful.
I don't think it is either, but even without my back injury, I still have a hate for it. I just don't ever want to do it.
All right, so I have a question. So you went to UCLA and Berkeley?
Yeah.
Did you do grad school? Or?
Yeah, so I went to UCLA undergrad. I was poli-sci at that moment in life. So I've always wanted to be a role model, and I've always wanted to hopefully create an impact on the people around me.
Well, you're doing a great job.
I was just about to say, well,
I
kudos
don't
to
know.
you.
I
You're already
try.
doing it.
I try. So at that time, I was like, well, maybe I'll be a politician. I worked on one political campaign, and I was horrible at it. Like, you had to go to like door to door, and it was awful. Like, I felt like a used cars salesman or something.
Yeah.
No shade to anyone who does that. It's just
No.
like in my personality trait.
You
like,
have to be
I
a
was
specific
like
person.
terrified. It was the worst thing. So after that, during UCLA, I was part of UCLA Unicamp, which is UCLA's official charity. And so it works with underserved kids. And so I would take them on like a 26-mile hike, and we did we did archery, and we would just like provide like a summer experience for them. And it's hopefully, we're trying to do is cut the summer learning loss. So essentially like kids who have more resources, they're going to camps and they're getting tutors, and their parents are sitting down and having, they're doing like math tables or whatever. And somebody who comes from a underserved community doesn't have those same resources. So they will come into the next year a little bit behind.
Totally.
So part of it is, trying to ensure that we cut the summer learning loss, but also make it fun, right? So it's
That's
like
so
sneaky
great.
education.
I love that.
mental stimulation.
Yeah,
like actually using your brains to like do stuff.
Do things and learn things. And so that was, I think, the first time in my life I had, kids whose family weren't gang members or they were in part of foster care. And I was like, dude, Jen, like, you're a really lucky human. Like, you need to give back. Yeah. So when
cool.
graduated from UCLA, I went into the Peace Corps. So I went to Albania, and I worked with a lot of kids and did teaching. I remember one of my highlights was like I was breaking down a Rihanna song as a way to teach English because they were all obsessed with Rihanna.
Oh my gosh.
And so like that was like a really interesting point in my life. And again, it's like the North Star is like, how do I impact? How do I do something good for the people around me? So I think it's just been like I've auditioned various pathways throughout my lifetime. So this is kind of how I got into social media. So I was in Albania, and I couldn't speak to my family a lot. At that time, like international plans and things were not as
Not really a thing.
available as they are. I sound like I'm 100.
No.
I'm like Usher. People are like, who's that? So I was there, and I remember I just uploaded. It was like hungry in Albania, and I just talked about the food in Albania, and that video hit 100,000 views really quickly. And it was kind of like early days in YouTube, but the thing was like the comments were, it was like TikTok today. It was just like brutal, which like I'm an adult now, I can handle that. At that time, it was a lot for me to take in.
Yeah.
So I realized I sort of had a knack for social media, but this was like, Facebook had just erupted and like, so I came back and I was like, I think there's like a corporate application for social media. And so I had an opportunity at Tom's, the 1-for-1 shoe company.
Yeah.
And then I went into
I love Tom's.
Yes, Tom's were great.
Such a great like mission statement. That to me was like, oh, there's this really cool blend of like corporate and giving back, right? Which was a new category that hadn't existed before.
Yeah, they were definitely like one of the first, I feel like.
Right, for sure. And it's like kind of cool for me because I was like, I love business and I love giving back, and I think there's a way to do both. And so when I came back, I worked there, and then I was an entrepreneur. So I built a digital division at a top PR agency, and I worked across, some of the top Fortune 500s like Hilton Hotels, but also luxury brands like Four Seasons or like Cheesecake Factory. And I was running like the initial anything from like Facebook ads, like I was with Facebook ads and influencer campaigns, really early days. So it was like, basically my job was like explaining to other people in the room why social media mattered and the fact that like people should care about social media.
Yeah, like casually just Fortune 500 companies. Yeah, like I worked for a few of them.
I started social media in the United States.
I'm the reason why people have Facebook ads.
No, that is so cool though. That is amazing. And it explains why 1987's
so
social media
is
so good.
Yeah. I think it was just like that. I understood one thing really, really well, but what an entrepreneur does is it means that you're building a division that doesn't exist within an existing infrastructure. And so I knew social media. I got that. That was like innate, and I understood. It was just from watching it, right? I was like young and I got it, and I could see how brands could do it well, and we won a lot of accolades and things like that. But the thing that I really struggled with was like financial forecasting and like ops, and how do you build a team, and how do you keep people motivated, and how do you know like how much you can pay someone? It's like all these things.
Yes.
And I hadn't taken a finance course maybe ever. Like I was like, this is above my pay grade. Like I don't know what to do here. So that's sort of what inspired me to want to go get my MBA at Berkeley, because I just realized I had certain knowledge gaps, and I was like, I really want to start my own company, but there are certain things that I think I need to learn before I'm going to be good at this. 100%. And so I set my sights on a top 10 MBA, and if you don't know, they're just like really, really hard to get into. You need like really high GMATs, and only I think 27 or 28% of classes are comprised with women today.
Oh my gosh!
So it was like
so that was your goal.
Yeah, and let me tell you, studying for the GMAT was such a struggle. I was like, I haven't done math since like I don't know, like 10 years ago. Like I don't know how to do all this, and so I just remember like all my friends would be going out, and I'd be like, well, I'm gonna go off to like Pete's and study. Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. Pete's Coffee, not Pete. I don't know Pete.
Yeah. I know. No, I knew what you were talking about.
Everyone's like, who's Pete?
Yeah. Pete, who's that? Where does he come in the story?
But basically, I remember I was in Germany, and I got this call from the person I had interviewed with, and they're like, welcome to Berkeley. And I started bawling because I didn't think there was like a shot in how I was actually going to get in. So I think that when we talk about like goal setting and doing something, it's like these little things start to add up, right? It was like, oh, I could do a marathon. Maybe I can get into school. Oh, I got into school. Maybe I can start my own company, so on and so forth. So I think that's something that I've always been good at, is being able to like sacrifice the now for a future payoff.
100%.
That is
Hundo P. I keep saying that. I'm like, this is wild. This is such an incredible story.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No, it is all such like chunks of gold. Like I feel like everyone needs to hear this, because I think it's a very scary thing to just like take that leap and be like, I can do this. Like it might be scary, and it might take a couple of tries, and maybe it's not going to be super easy, but I can. And I think as women too, a lot of the time in a lot of different places, you just get told no all the time. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like it's a male driven company, or it's a male driven industry. And I think it's so cool to hear in your perspective of what you did, and you succeeded, and you're absolutely crushing it. Like,
I mean, I think like what you just talked about, that was my experience with my first company. It was like constantly So I launched an artificial intelligence company out of Berkeley. I came up with the idea in my entrepreneurship class. Then I went through Launch, which is the top accelerator through the UCs. We won second place at Demo Day, 10K. Then I won money from Berkeley. Then I went into a Techstars Blackstone accelerator program. And so we were sitting across from the top venture capitalists in the world, the people who fund like Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
And the feedback that I got was like, the way that you look is a problem. And so I was just like sitting in front of these people who didn't really get me. And I was like, honestly, I know I can build a really good company.
Yeah.
And no one in this room believes me because of what I,
Because
maybe
of
for
your
a million
appearance.
different reasons,
Yeah.
right? Who knows? But so that was like, I was like, I don't want to ask for permission to do this. Like, I know I don't want to spend my time sitting in front of someone else explaining the 50 reasons I'm a good bet when I
Yeah.
can just go be a good bet.
Well, that's why people always are like, write your cover letter as like a man.
Yeah,
As a man would.
yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like just demanding that you're going to be good at the job and not saying,
Totally.
I might be good at this job because
Yeah.
I will be good at this job
Yeah.
because. And that's so fucked up.
No,
Yeah, no, it really is.
It's like this thing. I was just talking to this guy who's basically in charge of Netflix, like culture fit. So basically trying to scale the Netflix, like early startup days for today in culture. And he talks about like the gap in terms of women. We don't say something unless we're 150% sure that we're correct.
Yeah.
Versus men are like 20%. They're like, I'm just going to shoot it. I got
Shot.
this. Yeah.
Wow, that is so true.
And I feel like I always have to like say as a caveat, like I have so many amazing men in my life. Like my
100%.
dad is my best friend. He's the reason that I really went for 1987. I have had so many amazing professors and my brother, my uncles, like there are so many people who believe
yeah,
in me
no
who are
shade
amazing.
to men.
I
no
just
shade.
think it's like the world that we live in is not an equal world. And you can
No.
see that in so many different ways. And so I think it's more like as women, like how do we crush it as women, right?
Yeah.
And so social media to me is like the one avenue where we have a huge leg up because guess
Yeah.
what? Like my biggest problem as an AI leader is the best thing I have going for me as a social media person, which is
Yeah.
like, I'm not I'm not the cutest girl in the world, but I can I have an angle. I know how to like,
stop it.
Yeah.
I know how to take a good
Jen
photo.
is like stunning.
I know.
No.
Stunning.
So
If you're not watching the YouTube, sign on.
You should probably sign on to the freaking YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, it's true though. And it's like you're leveraging something that someone said was a problem.
right.
You're like, oh, you think it's a problem? All right, I'll pop off then. Goodbye.
It's like the things that we're most insecure about. I think if you come out and you tell your story authentically, those are the things that like people resonate with the most. It's like
Yeah.
I'm sitting here saying like I don't know what the heck I'm doing half the time. I was terrified to start. Like I talk about this all the time. Like I bought all these hoodies and I'm seeing them in my closet. I'm like, oh my god, like what have I done?
Yeah,
Like,
it's so
what if
true.
No one buys anything.
That
Like,
was literally the moment when me and Maddie put our first like payment on our like gym, and we looked at each other and we're like,
What are we getting ourselves?
we hope that someone books personal training. Just one
totally.
person.
We're like starting to like rack up a credit card bill
And
of
we're
like,
like-
all the gym equipment, which is not cheap.
Yeah.
As always we talk about, and especially during trying to outfit a gym during a pandemic.
yeah, good
That
luck.
was
Equipment.
probably not
Yeah.
the smartest thing
No.
to do because the amount of money that the inflation costs on everything
On
for
everything
gyms
during a
was
pandemic.
just
Like,
insane. But
sure.
we were like, well, we're doing it. So
And then
have
we
to
looked at each other and we were like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, what are we got ourselves into something, so now we got to make it work.
Yeah.
We
like-
cannot fail.
No, we're like, one day someone might want to come back in person at some point.
Someday, somehow.
Yeah, at that point everything was virtual.
Yeah,
So
everything was virtual, so we were literally teaching like
we were like this
I know.
1,200 square foot space. We're like, we need about 200 square feet of this space.
Yeah.
For virtual.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know.
the rest, who knows?
literally.
Not really sure. So we all have that moment, I think, as entrepreneurs where you're like, what am I doing?
Well, yes and no, though, because only 2% of all venture capital goes to women. So, right, like if you're raising a round and you have $500K to put on a gym, it's a little bit different than when you're pulling out of whatever you're jerry-rigging together, whatever you can to put in together.
pool.
And, and in an ideal world, like I would love like 10, 15 years from now to have like a venture fund for women so that we're paving the way for the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I would love to have an easier pathway for people.
100%. Yeah, it honestly, me and Maddie haven't taken a business class.
Maddie and I. Someone
or an English class, clearly.
One of our family friends corrects us every
single
time.
Because I'm always like, me and Joe, me and Maddie, me and Mom. And he's like, Mom and I, Joe and I, Carly and I.
You're like, go ahead.
So Maddie and I have not taken a single business class in our life. Our mom works at Babson, and we have access.
My brother went there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
So
I spoke there, actually.
we do have access to
cool.
classes at Babson.
Yeah,
it's finding the time.
Yeah, it genuinely is. I feel like when you break up everything, and you can
But
probably
we want to. It's a goal of ours.
You can probably attest to this too. And maybe you can't. Maybe you're better at this than we are.
No, I'm sure
Taking care of ourselves is one of the hardest parts of owning your own business because, you know, I still work another full-time job. Carly still has another part-time job. Like, we're still doing the thing where we're doing multiple things at once. And then we're like, okay, we're taking care of other people. And like, our bodies might be falling apart, but our business is together. So that's really what matters.
I don't remember the last time I slept, but
who needs sleep? Sleep when you're dead.
But we're trending, so
Who needs to get a manicure? You can just do press-on nails before the podcast.
Carly walks in with the sticky nails, and I'm like, what's going on? We're at the nail salon, forgot. But it's true. Like, I think prioritizing yourself a lot of the time when you own your own business is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I've been starting to learn that you have to budget your time in the sense of like, okay, if that means maybe one less client, but a chiropractor appointment or a doctor's appointment, that might be better for the long run.
Yeah.
And like that, like, it's just, it teaches you a lot having your own, like, your baby, like your own thing that no one else can tell you what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because you're your own boss and you're like,
So
okay,
true.
so I'm doing everything here.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, but amazing.
So I have a question. So you were out in California doing all the things, literally all the things, everything under the sun.
A marathon.
What was the thing that made you want to move out to New York?
Yeah. So I graduated and I was in a really serious relationship at that time, and he got a banking job in New York. And so it just, I could do my job from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so we went, and, you know, I always just say, like, COVID gave me pause, and I'm so grateful for, you know, obviously so many terrible things happened during COVID, but I think the brighter side for me was, like, it gave me a moment to think about everything, all the choices that I was making. And what I realized was, like, I'm in the wrong relationship for me, and I'm running the wrong company for me.
Yeah.
And so this is like kind of this big turning point. I spend time with family, I'm in quarantine, and I'm like, I gotta break up. And I gotta change the
So hard.
company. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just got chills. That's literally, I can't even imagine that moment where you're like, and this is over.
So I'm gonna break up. I'm just gonna like blow up my life. So I
touchdown and here we go.
I was like, oh God. And everyone was just looking at me like, are you crazy? Because like when you have something that's going well, especially on the business side, people are like, are you sure? You know?
Yeah.
And so I fly out of New York. I have 3 duffel bags, nothing else. And I'm sitting with my dad and I'm like crying every other moment because I'm like, I don't know what
You're
I'm
like,
doing.
emotionally, I'm everywhere.
Yeah, like, I am a actual wreck. The only thing I have going for me at the moment is like I had a few videos go well on TikTok about me being single. That was it. That only bright side. And so I'm sitting with my dad, and my dad's like, all right, kiddo, like, what's going on? And I'm like, honestly, I went into Berkeley really wanting to do clothes. I'm not the most stylish person, but I love clothing. I'm like obsessed clothing, not clothings. But your family friends like,
Yeah, I know. No S.
Yeah. So I love fabric. I love fit, and I can just see what's gonna look good on someone, right? And I'm like that. I wanted like loungewear that wouldn't make you look like a potato, and I kind of had this whole idea. So I sat down. I basically pitched it to my dad, and I showed him some early designs. He's like, look, if this is what you love, if this is what you want to go do it. You know? Wow. And so I think that was like probably the best thing that anyone ever told me in my life. And my dad's like my best friend, and I'm super grateful for him. And so after that, I always just say like everything that came out was like some sort of magic. And it was like I had all this architecture in my head because it was like the thing that I really wanted to do. And I think when you're in full alignment with like your life purpose, whatever that is, like doors start to open and things just roll. Like I remember with the AI company, I was like, it took me 4 months to figure out a name, and I still didn't love it. Like 1987 was almost immediate. And so the logo took me like 10 minutes, like all of these things, because I just loved it. And it was such a passion, and it just felt like in total alignment with like what I was meant to do here. Yeah. So essentially I'm like, I want to build this in Boston, right? Like have a bunch of family here. This is where I want to go. I'm moving.
Put your roots in.
Love
for sure.
that.
And so that was kind of the whole idea, was like Boston inspired. And I just think like so many cool brands come out of like other markets. And I'm like, Boston's really cool. Like Boston should have like the next great thing.
It should.
And And so that was kind of like loungewear. And you know, we can talk about the activewear side, which is going to be more of a year 2 thing for us. And we do have some activewear that we've sold out of. But for people who don't know us, like a little pitch on us is Boston-based, Boston-inspired, active loungewear. So
love it.
I see it as a new category. It's like, remember how Lululemon made it appropriate to wear leggings like literally anywhere? You're like brunch or like bars. Before then, it was like just to the gym.
Yes.
Like we want to do that in the loungewear category. So like going to bars, going to Trader Joe's,
Love
literally
that.
wherever.
It's
a fit.
It's a fit. Yeah.
It's a freaking fit.
I will be the person advocating for all of that.
Yeah, it's like, who doesn't want to be
showing up.
comfy?
Literally, that is like when, that's when I'll be the most comfortable. And I mean, those sets, I'm telling you guys.
Oh my goodness. I literally walked into
Bury
work.
me
I had
in that
1
set.
and then all of a sudden I had 4. I was like, I went from 1 to 4 within a month. And I was like,
it's
so
like, you can't
call it
fit
a
just
problem
one.
or call it like champagne problems,
Yeah.
honestly. But I'm like, you know, and then I wear a different variation to work every day. And they're like, how many do you like watch?
Do you have
I'm like,
anything else? Yeah.
Well, you know when you have that favorite thing
Totally.
like, that you always reach for in your closet? That's like the 1987 sweatshirt in all 4 of my colors. I'm like, okay, this goes with these
So
biker
true.
shorts.
Yeah.
It's a biker short and then a 1987 sweatshirt.
It's so true.
It's if you haven't bought it yet, you're missing out. I think I've convinced every person in my friend group from home and from work to buy at least a set or a sweatshirt, and they're like, okay, so when are new colors launching? And I'm like, well, honey, you missed out already. August. You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah, we
Start saving.
Start saving now.
Yeah.
But we'll make that a little bit easier on you, and we'll do the code CAKE for 20% off.
Oh my goodness.
I hope you're listening.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
Cake, 20% off.
Just go get it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Well,
just
last
go.
time when we were teaching at the Grand and you came to class.
Oh my God.
That was so fun, by the way. You guys are so, for people who haven't been in person with you guys, you have such phenomenal energy. And
Oh my
like
God,
Sarah,
thank
my
you.
intern, she's sitting right there. That's
Yes.
for that word. But we went together and we both had so much fun.
Thank
it
you
was
so
like,
much.
Such a good
Thanks.
time.
And we try to keep it fun.
We have the
'cause-
best time doing it.
Oh God,
we have another class coming up on Monday the 28th.
Yes, so please do sign up. It's in our link.
6:30,
Yeah.
and we don't have to wear masks this time. It's
Yes.
optional.
It's
if you want to
optional.
wear
If you
one.
want-
Yeah.
You do you, but you don't have to. And it's going to be so fun. But
so excited.
I think 3 people, we're also hosting a drinks after at Empire again. But last time when Jen came, it was literally like,
No, there was 6 people in a row that all bought
a full set.
a full set.
I think they bought like Yacht Club and Midnight Ride. Like
Yeah.
3 or 4 people. Like we're like, all right, perfect. I need that.
Yeah,
Like,
they saw you guys roll up in them, and they were like, "And we're gonna buy them
okay,
right now."
purchase.
It's a total mood,
Yeah.
Just being at Empire casually in the hoodies. But those are our back bay sets. So those are our best sellers, and they all come in limited edition colors. So you shop it or you lose it. And so when we
Shop
talk
it.
about, definitely shop
You
it.
have to shop
Yeah. So Boston inspires, like a lot of like the nomenclature comes out of Boston neighborhoods, like, you know, Boston Seaport or things like that. And then all of the color names, like a lot of times we borrow from vernacular like Wicked and things like that. So we just try to keep it fun, and we
Love
iterate
it.
a little bit. Like obviously we have like flat white and stuff. So if you like being a part of the naming process, definitely make sure that you follow us on social media, because we go to our stories, and like a huge part of what we do is like we democratize the process. So we ask you guys like, what do you want? What colors do you want?
I
What do you
love
want
it.
this name to be? So on and so forth, which I
And
think is fun.
a lot of, almost all the names, right, come from like submissions, most of them.
A lot of them, yeah. I think
Yeah.
even early days when I wasn't fully asking on stories, like a lot of my family members can be accredited. Like my aunt, she works at with Nordstrom, and she's the one that came out with the Midnight Ride. And she's like, I mean, I'm a little proud that it's the all-time top seller. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
fucking killed it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like there was oat milk latte, Midnight Ride dunks.
I love how you guys know.
I have Midnight Ride dunks.
The Cape one.
The
Down
Green
the Cape.
Monster.
Down the Cape.
I
I
have
should've
Green
gotten
Monster.
Down the Cape, 'cause
Carly
I'm
has
wondering-
oat milk latte.
Yeah.
I have oat milk latte, Yacht Club, Dunks, and Green Monster. I have all. And Midnight Ride. I have it all.
It's
Oh my God, you
fine,
guys are
everyone.
amazing.
It's
I
fine.
appreciate that so much.
Oh my gosh, stop. Well, when you have something so good, and then I also,
Oh, and I bought my friend the waffle ones.
Yeah.
and she's
What was those?
obsessed.
Yeah, more but more problems.
Yes,
with
yes.
the waffle set.
So I actually originally bought her the Dunks, And then I tried it on to make sure it would fit her, and I didn't give it to her for Christmas.
Kept them.
I literally kept it for myself.
You're like,
Fully
no,
kept
no,
them.
no.
And then for her birthday, I got her the more butter, more problems.
You were like, I love you, but I love me more.
They fit like a glove. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
They were meant for you.
Yeah.
She literally was so pissed. She was like, and then they were sold out, and I was like, sorry.
she's like, I was going to buy you a pair, but they sold out. So my bad. But the thing is we always talk about, you know, supporting other women, other entrepreneurs, small businesses, like, and those are the people that you want to go out of your way to support. And especially when they have an incredible product, it's like, I feel like people are always in search of something that's cheaper or easier, more accessible on Amazon. And it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, who are you supporting when you shop that way?
Yeah.
Like,
Jeff Bezos? No, see ya.
he has so much money. He does not need your money
Him
anymore.
and his divorced wife have the most money in the world. They don't need any more.
Like, support someone.
Shop local.
Yes, shop local. So if you haven't yet, make sure you go follow. It's 1987 active on Instagram.
So we're 1987 active on Instagram and TikTok, and 1987active.com is
Or
our
Jen
website.
Deangelis.
Yeah, and Jen Deangelis on Instagram, and Jen Deangelis with 2 N's on TikTok.
Love it.
Their
Wait, so
TikTok
let's talk
crushes
about
it.
the activewear.
Yeah, okay.
I want to like get a sneak preview.
Yeah,
You
me
guys
too.
are getting exclusive shit.
So I am like so fastidious about quality and fit. And so I have over time, we figured out how to create like really nice loungewear. Like that's the number one thing I think for the price point, like the quality that we deliver is, I'm going to say unparalleled, but
It isn't.
is.
It's not like Gildan. It's not like
It's so warm.
Yeah,
it's so warm.
Yeah, we have lighter sets now for our LA fam. But so when I went to do activewear, so I talk about an MVP, and we could talk about, I know there were some questions on kind of how you start, but like essentially you try to create like what's the smallest thing that you can create to bring to the market to see if there's traction. So that's a minimal viable product, and our MVP was a asymmetrical bra. And while I really liked it, one of the issues was that when people were being active, it was kind of coming up. And so I'm someone who like I work out a lot, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And like to me, Lululemon, a lot of what they bring out is pedestrian. I think that there's like seams running up and down people's legs, and I think that just cuts off lines. And like I like a very sleek look, and I think like on the market, who I think is doing it well is Ultra Core, but their tights are like $250, $280. That's not accessible, right?
I mean, I do love their tights. I don't own any of them, but they are very flattering.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing. I think anyone can look good in anything. It's just about fabric, cut, fit, right, and then quality over time, right? And I want to make sure if you're going to invest in a piece of 1987, that's something you can wear day in, day out, like year after year.
Yeah.
Wash it, wear it, wash it, wear
that's
it.
the number one thing I hear from boyfriends. They're like, my girlfriend like won't wash her set. Like, can you please tell her to wash the set?
She can wash it.
Yeah.
I've washed it, everyone. Doesn't shrink. It still looks great.
Or the second I take it out, it's like on my body, and Joe's like, do you change? I'm like, no.
You're like, no, this is it. This is the uniform.
Go from one to the other. I blast the AC just to wear it.
So I literally got a screenshot the other day from my cousin who said like, or her friend said exactly that. She's like, I'm like a chilly 60 in here just for 1987. And we are going to come out with monochrome short sets and crops coming out, and also hats, baseball caps.
no.
So excited.
We actually need names for both of that. So drop in both of our DMs if you guys
Yes.
can help.
Freaking wallet
yeah.
is like talking to me and
For
like
sure.
buy it.
We should do like a cross promotion giveaway for something.
Oh my
We'll
gosh,
talk about.
yes.
But anyways, so when I think about activewear, to me, I'm only gonna bring it out if I can wear it for 60 days and absolutely love it, and it hasn't happened yet. So we are actively working on it. I know people really want leggings from us and sports bras. So just know that we are working on it. But I do a few fun things. I call it the compliment test. So I'll wear something for like literally 60 days before I bring it out, and I take walks around neighborhoods. And if I get a lot of compliments, I'm like, okay, this is something I want to bring out. And if I
so
don't,
smart.
then I'm like, maybe not. And it's the weirdest thing, even though it's like such an informal way of doing it. The ones that get the most compliments just on these walks are the things that sell out the fastest or are our top selling items.
That's just not shocking.
Yeah.
Wait, that is
So
so
it's like
so
just like a
good.
small data group, but you know, I
That's
guess
so
it works for us.
smart, and that's also like so respectful in the sense that you're like, I'm not gonna rush something because I want the people buying it and investing their money into the product to actually love it and enjoy it forever, not just for like a couple wears.
Yeah, and I think as like direct to consumer, and I think when you guys were doing purely virtual, you probably felt this way. You really only get one shot with a customer. If you ship something and it's bad, like that goodbye. It's like, I'm never going to see that person again.
Yep.
So quality to me is really important. And I feel like if we're not hitting it out of the ballpark, and this is how I think about the brand generally, like I want to surprise and delight in like the best possible way. That's why we do the giveaways. That's why we pop up. That's why we, I think we are a very content first type of company. Like I want it to be fun to watch our stories, to follow along, to like you're actually building this company along with us. Like tune in every day to see what we're doing next.
Like what's going to happen.
So I lost my train of thought there, but essentially I don't think that we can bring out something that I'm happy with yet. So once we do, know that is part of why, because it's like right now it's like 1987 active. Everyone's like, where's the activity? Like active loungewear.
No, there's no rush. And I appreciate that you're taking your time and making sure it's a really good quality product, because
so important.
I mean that, like for example, I love Lululemon. I've worked at
She's our ambassador. I work at Lululemon.
Yeah, sorry, I know that you guys are.
Stop
No. I've worked there. I've been an ambassador there. It just ended for me. And now I'm like a legacy ambassador. So sorry.
Oh. It's whatever that means.
Yeah. So it's over.
But the thing is like I literally was wearing it at Lululemon one time, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I love that so much." And it's like no other active wear is doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I've
true.
never seen any of the products that you're bringing out, like a pair of sweatpants that actually fits like really well and like flatters you, because trust me, I have a few pairs. It gives you like total drop crotch or like the grandma ass, like
it's like stuff you don't want to wear out. Like
right.
Back to like the active loungewear thing. It's like I want to create stuff that doesn't make you look like a potato. Like you actually feel like I look real good.
Yes.
And it's funny, I've been wearing, because I'm a sociopath, I've been wearing 1987 literally everywhere. So like private clubs, all these things. And
as you're supposed to.
It is the biggest conversation starter. I always say, like, if you're single, just wear some like sweatpants
100%.
Yeah, they're like, wow, you must be really confident because you're wearing sweatpants.
Yeah, totally. But like, it looks cool. Like, I think it's all about, it's being like the Hailey Bieber. It's being like the cool girl. Like, anyone can be the sexy girl. Like, we all know how to rock up in like a cool, like, tight dress.
Yeah.
But like, to wear a hoodie and look really cool, it's like, damn, that girl's got something.
Yeah.
You just gotta wear it with confidence.
We have men's too.
But you're also like doing some charity work with the flat white hoodie.
So we've done a lot of things. So for our ongoing partnership, for every purchase that is made on the 1987 website, we give a pair of socks to someone in need, and we do that here all locally in Boston. So this is something I don't think a lot of people know, and I didn't know at first, was that a lot of the homeless population, like the number one thing that they need is socks, because they're on their feet a lot, and like actually a lot of diseases can come in through your feet. So having clean socks is really important.
So important.
That's
amazing.
That's one thing that we're doing here locally. And then we did with the flat white hoodie, it was during May, which was mental health awareness. And so one of our friends shared her story about anxiety. And so during the month of May, we took, I think it was 10% of all sales, and we gave a donation to Mass General Hospital, particularly their mental health.
Oh my gosh.
So they lead the mental health category, and they do a lot of great work there. So
amazing.
For us, I think it's just like, how can we be more than a hoodie company, and how can we make sure that we're giving back, I mean, locally, but also we've done a lot, even since day one, when it was honestly, and you guys are the same way, like, I think you're just super giving people, but even when it was hard for me to give, right, like I had invested a lot, and I hadn't had the returns yet, and so the 12 days of giveaways was not easy. Like I was
gonna say, yeah.
So if you don't know, and if you haven't followed us, basically I just ran around Boston. I was hiding hoodies in like the north end and south end, and we were using TikTok as a way to amplify the awareness. And since TikTok is like so hyper targeted and like geo targeted, essentially the people who are watching us live locally, and so we were giving away hoodies, but then we also surprised like Mass General nurses, and then we also surprised a mom who was spending Christmas with her daughter at Boston Children's.
Oh my gosh.
And so we surprised her as well. She wrote like this note, it's on a TikTok, and she was like, oh, I'd love to come and play, or like come and find the hoodie, but my daughter and I are at the hospital. And I read that and I was like, well, obviously I have to go.
Yeah.
Like, I have to go meet her. And so, I think for us, it's also just surprising people. I'll drop in, I'll see a Trader Joe's line that's really long, and I'll go and surprise people, or a Cisco line. And, I hope that's a part of the brand that we are really able to scale and be able to bring that kind of joy to everyone outside of the Boston market, but
Yeah.
Boston's always going to be, you know,
The number one
for us.
I love that.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think, sorry, last question before I go. We have a couple listener questions. You answered some of them, so that's good.
Yeah.
But do you think you'd still be out in California if you hadn't moved for your boyfriend?
Probably, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think the world has a really funny way of working out. And I even think about it, I'm like, what if I had moved forward with some of the opportunities with AI company? I would be running a company I hated, you know?
Yeah.
And there were like moments where I was so defeated after those conversations where people turned us down. And I was like, why? Like, why is this happening? Like, I know I can do this. And I know in my heart that I could do this really well.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that whole thing that like doors shut because there's something better for you. And anything that's meant for you can't pass you by, right?
Everything happens for a
I
reason.
don't know.
I'm the
if
firmest believer.
For sure. If you're going through a hard time, just know like there's something, it's a better guy, it's a better person. There's something better out there for you. And I
100%.
really believe that.
I think that's so important to remember.
So the two, you answered one of them.
She covered almost all
Words
of them.
of advice for a young female professional in a male-dominated industry, which
We hit upon that.
and tips for starting, growing an e-commerce business.
Yeah, so I mean, for e-commerce, like you don't have the opportunity to be in front. So it's really like I think about video a lot. I think something that only like highbrow, like Net-a-Porter or like these really high-end luxury designers, they all show their clothes in video, right? Because it's one thing to see a static image of something, but when you see clothes in movement, you're like, oh, I really get that. So for me, doing a lot of video content early on was always a top priority because I wanted people to see that these are like really high quality. But I would say beyond that, because you might not want to do direct to, or DTC for clothing, it could be anything. It's just your website needs to look really good and your social media needs to be really good.
Yeah.
And if
you need to have a presence.
Right. And so I think like Squarespace is a really good option. It's really affordable. And I think spend money on those two things. Like if you have to cut somewhere else, because that's the first impression somebody gets when they come to your TikTok or Instagram or the website. Like, that's it. That's all you got.
I'm going to be honest.
Really have to
Zara, I hate their website.
Oh my God, me too.
So
I was literally on Zara last night and I was like searching things and I was like, I can't find a damn thing.
Since I work in a mall, so many people walk in and they're like wearing the cutest stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is that from? They're like, Zara.
Yeah.
So I go on, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to find it. I'm like, how the fuck
Yeah.
do you use this?
Have you seen this?
Scrolling?
There's like these TikToks about how horrible their campaigns are because it was like this dress and it was underwater.
Yes,
and
it
this
was
girl
in
was
a
like,
pool.
yeah, she was like,
Wait,
you're
Remy?
trying to sell me a dress. I can't even
With
see what the
someone else.
dress looks like.
No.
Like, come on, Zara.
That's genuinely it. When you said that, though, I was like, think of a huge brand. Like, clearly they're not suffering. A lot of people wear their stuff, but like they
could
have
do so much
storefronts,
better.
but like their website is the least like easily navigate. Like I can't navigate it at all. And I was like scrolling through, I was like, how do I look for a shirt? Like they're all just
You're like literally like typing in shirt.
yeah, like there's this shirt and I can't describe it and I can't find it and I don't know how to find a size because like it's so confusing. But your website says so much about your business. So like if it's easily navigated, if it aesthetically looks nice, if it has like just good information and like, you know, FAQs,
easy to use,
like everything that you need for a consumer to want to buy from it. That's like the first thing that drives you. Same with the social media.
And I would say Shopify is probably one of the best like commerce applications. So what we do is sometimes like when people give advice, you're like, can you just give me something tactical? So we use Squarespace with Shopify as our buy button. And so for us, Squarespace is the best website provider and Shopify is best for like inventory management, things like that.
Shopify is awesome.
So I highly recommend if you're just like really like, I don't know where to start. Those are two good recommendations.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, thank you so much.
I know. I feel like
Thank you for having
that
me.
was so good.
I know, that was so...
Really? Because I feel like I was like, I don't know how that went.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
No,
that
that
would
was
just, like,
amazing.
black out.
No, yes. Trust me, the first few for us.
Guys, do not remember the code CAKE.
Do not remember?
Dude, I definitely don't remember the 20%
Do
off
not
cake.
forget to remember the code CAKE for
double
20% off.
Talk about blacking out. Like, Jesus
What is
Christ.
happening?
We all drank too much this weekend.
I don't know what's going on. But thank you so much for being
thank you
here.
guys so much
and
for having me.
I think it's just so incredible to have someone like you on here, and I just can't wait for you to just take off and just, you already are, but
I know.
just watching you blossom and then just continuing to just go on and
To the moon.
Now I'm seeing people wear 1987 that I don't even know, and I'm like, okay, well, I wore
It's like a secret society.
wore it before you.
Like when I was at Ashland State Park the other day walking my dog, I saw a woman in 1987. I was like, oh my gosh, she's coming on our podcast. And she was like, well, what's your podcast?
We're like, oh my gosh.
I was like, eat the damn cake.
Yeah.
But like, she's
How
coming on,
people
and
bond.
she like messaged us today and was like, hi from the girl you saw in 1987 at Ashland State Park. And I was like, shout out.
Yeah,
It
so
was- yeah.
We're building a crew of baddies together, and
I
also
know.
just like collaborations like this, I think are so fun. Just so like if people don't know you in person, like you guys are such good people. So I hope
my
the
God.
listeners know that.
Thank you so much. I'm going to cry.
That's
I'm
so
very
sweet.
sensitive.
It's one
and
of the
emotional.
sweetest things anyone has ever said to us. Hurley's like, sometimes
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
okay, I
Hurley's
guess.
like, yeah.
He's like, you don't see them
Hurley
fight.
looks so dapper today.
I know, Hurley.
know.
He has a button-down plaid shirt.
Yeah.
Such a summer vibe. He belongs on a yacht.
Also,
Yeah.
side note,
Yacht
if you
club.
don't know, Hurley DJs, and he DJ'd at the Grand this past weekend.
Oh my gosh.
How did it go?
2 nights in a row.
He doesn't have a
Oh,
mic.
it doesn't have a mic.
But was it amazing?
Give us a thumbs up.
It was
It's really
amazing.
good.
I was there. It was amazing.
Maddie goes, was it amazing?
I was there. He was amazing. But we could go on about the Grand forever. But
Yes.
thank you again. And I'm sure we'll have you on again at some
I
point.
know. Once
and
you launch the activewear line, you'll
Yeah.
have to come
you'll
back.
Come on. Maybe we'll
It'll be
just,
fun.
have her model it at one of our classes at some
Yeah,
point
totally.
soon. But
Do some surprises.
make sure you go follow her on Instagram, all those socials. And then if you have any questions for her, definitely reach out to her or
DM her.
us.
Slide
Yep.
into the DM. She answers. She's good.
Yeah, she
and
is
she
really
also
good.
has some phenomenal interns.
Yes, which
shout
we
out,
love.
shout out to Sarah and Maggie.
They're looking so cute
Yeah,
in
they look-
in their 1987. I was like, they're a whole entire vibe right now.
We just brought on Maggie for events, so stay tuned. We're doing some really
Ooh,
fun
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And Sarah's a rock star. She literally killed it. We did this whole marathon of giveaways, and she literally killed it.
Oh
She
my
did.
God.
Thank you.
The
One
best.
of them was at our gym, actually.
Yeah, you
And
guys, that was so fun.
within 10 minutes, it was gone. We got a DM, found it, and we're like, oh, okay.
You're like, we weren't there. We got to lunch.
Literally,
Literally,
like,
we went to lunch.
we were like, okay, yeah, didn't expect it to go that quickly, but
Did not. But at 11:50, I was like, I'm just gonna run to lunch. I'm gonna leave it right outside of the gym so that they don't have to like come in and find it. And all of a sudden, you were like, someone said they found it at like
Like-
12:01, and I was like, oh my
like,
god.
so 11 minutes. Someone drove 11 minutes and
Yeah.
found it. But don't forget, cake. 20% off. Go buy it. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Go rate, review, subscribe. You know the drill. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.